Welcome everyone to tonight's council meeting for Monday the 13th of July 2026. We'll start with CM1 opening affirmation acknowledgement. Councillor Bullivant, affirmation, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. We gather to represent the people of Albury who have entrusted us with this task. May our efforts be blessed with insight, wisdom and common sense. May our personal values give us honesty and courage to serve our community effectively and with respect for all.
Thank you. Acknowledgement of country, Councillor King.
We would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people as the traditional custodians on the land that we meet upon today and pay our respect to their elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, culture, tradition and hopes of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people that contribute to our community.
Thank you. You may be seated. CM2 recording and webcasting of meeting. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice and will be made publicly available on Albury City's website. Attendance at this meeting is taken as consent to being recorded and included in the live stream. Any person who does not consent to being recorded may choose to leave the meeting. Members of the public are reminded to refrain from making defamatory statements or disclosing personal information, noting that Albury City is not responsible for comments made by individuals. Recordings and live streams are protected by copyright and remain the property of Albury City. No part of the meeting may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the Chief Executive Officer. CM3, conflict of interest declarations. I've received none. Mr McGrath?
None received, Mr Mayor, but I can read out the general advice if you like.
Thank you.
The Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, Section 10.4, requires a person submitting planning applications or submissions regarding a planning application to disclose any reportable political donation and or gifts to any local councillor or employee of council. Reportable political donations include those of or above $1,000. The disclosure statement forms are available on Council's website or from the Customer Service Centre and must be lodged in accordance with the Act. The forms are also available at the back of the chamber during meetings. There were no development applications for consideration at this meeting and accordingly no advice was required regarding specific planning matters contained in the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979.
Thank you, Mr McGrath. CM4 apologies, there are none. Attendance by councillors at meeting by audio-visual link. Thank you, councillors. Councillor King.
I'd like to move that Council receive note and accept the attendance of Councillor Glacken via audio-visual link for the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to second that motion, please, Mayor Mack.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. CM5 Merrill Minute, there is none. CM6 action plans. Thank you, councillors. Councillor King.
I move that the following action plans be received and noted. 1. Actions completed since previous meeting for noting only. 2. Actions awaiting response from external parties. 3. Actions in progress. And 4. Long-term issues more than 3 months.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski.
Yeah, happy to second that.
Councillor King, did you wish to speak to that at all?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Question from Councillor Callaghan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mack, to the most relevant staff member. Just hoping for an update on the East Albury Precinct Master Plan, noting that we're due to get a presentation in early 2026 and just wondering where we're up to with that.
Ms Leopold.
Thanks for the question, Councillor Callaghan. I believe the presentation regarding East Albury Precinct Plan is due to come to Council at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, happy to put that motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM7, confirmation of minutes of previous meetings. Minutes held of the council meeting held on Monday the 15th of June 2026. Councillor Bukowski.
I move the recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday 15 June 2026 at 6 p.m. be confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, thank you.
Okay, there appears to be no question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Thank you. CM8, reports from community forums. There are none. CM9, notice of motion or rescissions. There are none. CM10, presentation and deputations. We have a deputation of CM10.1, Financial Sustainability Program and Presentation. Thank you, staff. Gail? Doesn't
Thank
press
you.
a button very well.
Sorry. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. We would like to present to you the financial sustainability update at this council meeting, noting that there is a report that will follow this presentation. So a bit of a reminder for many of you, but this will provide you a high-level overview of the status of our financial sustainability program and where we're at to date. It is just a bit of a snapshot, so ahead of the council meeting, when we come back to you in the next fortnight, we will be seeking endorsement for what were the high-level ASP or the accelerated service planning items that you endorsed for us to review in the March meeting. But this financial sustainability update, we just wanted to take you through what is the program of work that we've got underway for the moment. On the next slide, you'll see that we've set up this program and it needs to be structured, evidence-based and really secured towards the long-term financial sustainability of Albury City Council. We've heard very strongly from, I would say, community and councillors that we need to be seen to be cleaning our own house up first. So this provides you some insight into some of that work. The program and the work that we've got underway, this is just, it's just a starting block. So there's a number of different tranches that will follow, and we're really aware that this needs to be the priority for council, especially ahead of what we've got going on in terms of engagement around a potential SRV. We've got Kat Stewart who's with us tonight. She's our change program lead. Kat's been with us along for many months now and part of this journey. And to date, she's been doing quite a lot of our assurance reviews internally and a number of our internal audit work as well. So we're in good hands with her. Moving on to the next slide. So this will be familiar to many of you as councillors. It's a reminder that this is a planned program of work. We have been speaking to you on this since December and January this year, and we've got all of these tranches of work that are well and truly underway and being actively progressed. We can appreciate that from a council and a community point of view that not all of that will be visible as we continue to work through what are some larger programs of work that require considerable review, risk analysis, and also just time spent with our people to understand what the impacts are as well.
Ms Evans-Barr, are you happy to take questions during or at the end?
Oh, whatever you wish.
Councillor Cameron, did you wish to ask a question?
Thank you, Mayor Mack. May I take you to the previous slide briefly? The 4 dot points, how are they determined? Is that on the instruction of council or is that developed by staff?
In terms of the program of work, it's informed from both the feedback that we've got from community to date through things like the accelerated service program piece of work. It's also informed through a piece of work that we've done as executive to sit down and nut out the criteria of this financial sustainability program. And it's also informed from what our budget is and knowing exactly what the program is that we need to deliver and what the best areas are that we should focus on.
So those 4 objectives or criteria or parameters, they were not developed by the council, the sitting council, they were developed by staff.
They've certainly been developed with council in terms of a number of our community forum nights that we've had, sorry, not community forum nights, our public presentations that we've had and a number of the workshops that we've had with councillors over several months.
So once again, workshops are not decision-making forums.
No.
And if this came out of workshops, partly or in whole, that's a matter of concern for me. What I don't like, particularly, is protecting essential services and infrastructure. Who has determined what is essential services and infrastructure? For example, some councillors, myself in particular, may have an enthusiasm for mothballing Mama while we're in a financial crisis. Is that a essential service or infrastructure? Some would argue it is. This criteria has not been developed by the sitting councillors. That's my point.
Thank you.
Continue.
Continue? Thanks. So in terms of the pillars of work that we have underway at the moment, it's the Morrison Law Advisory, which has been subsequent reports that have come up to council for delivery, and that's what we'll focus on in terms of the savings that we'll put forward to you today. The 4-year delivery program has already been presented to council, and this will be an iterative process that we'll update as we go along. Operating budget, so both in terms of what we've got going on in-house, in terms of the way that we're operating, I guess, our teams, our structures, and furthermore, some of our grants that we've got in terms of financial assistance and alike. And on top of that, our service planning reviews that we'll have underway. So there are a number of areas, and Councillor Cameron points to that as well, in terms of what are essential services and what are not essential services. And so there are pieces of work that we are now looking at in terms of service review that pertain to the feedback that we've had from community, but also councillors previously. And that will all, obviously, as it comes up and we critically review those pieces of work and we put forward recommendations, that will absolutely come to council for their decision. The other piece that we're looking at are the property and leasing, and Bridget, who's across from me now, she's got a report that will come to council in subsequent months as well on that. I do want to call out for councillors tonight that a key part of this is our workforce considerations. So you'll see a lot of public commentary around our workforce and where we sit in terms of payroll budget and alike at the moment. But one of the things that I want you to look at in this report is that from where we talk about minimal impact to services, in actual fact, when you get down to some of the people that are impacted by these change proposals, that is not a minimal impact to their life. So when we are going through these pieces of work, we are really trying to make sure that we are doing everything to not only meet but exceed our award obligations, and to make sure as we go through this, we're taking the time to fully understand the impact of any proposed changes as we go through.
Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you so far for the presentation, Gail. My question, I understand it's an extremely delicate issue when we talk about service delivery and we're talking about staffing as well. Is there a percentage that we're looking at to reduce our wages capacity by?
Ms. Barr.
Thank you for your question through you, Mac. There's no set percentage that we've got in mind. Everything that we put up will have to be a consideration of whether that service is something that council would like to either continue with, or whether we look at reducing that service before we consider what that impact that may be for staff as we go through. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Bullivant.
Through you, Mayor Mac, to a question to the relevant member of staff. Given the current discussions about SRVs with regard to financial sustainability and long-term plans, what steps are being undertaken by staff to enable immediate results? There's part two to this one as well, Ms. Staff. And whilst I understand the staff are working through the process, I think it's critically important that we as an organisation share the proposed changes with our community. When will this occur? And as Ms. Barr alluded to, we've got to look in before we look out. I think it's imperative that we look into our organisation first before we start putting a burden onto our citizens, and we've got to work really hard at this.
Ms. Barr.
Thank you for your observation, Councillor Bullivant, and I think that's the purpose of tonight, is to provide some insight. And obviously there'll be a report that follows, and I would suggest that with subsequent quarterly budget review processes and a number of reports that are being actively worked on internally right now, you will see that come forward over coming months as well. So this is the start.
Councillor Cameron.
You may not be able to answer this, and I appreciate if that's the case. Perhaps the acting general CEO might be able to answer it. Recently, I'm aware that the new local government award consent award has been created. Mm-hmm. Were there any changes to the consultative mechanisms or requirements of that award that you're aware of, or are they substantially the same as the previous award?
Mr. McGrath.
To the best of my recollection, the consultative arrangements around workplace change, etc., are substantially the same as they were in the immediately previous award. There has been some adjustments to some of the leave provisions. There's 4% wage increases 1 July this year, next year and the year after. But a lot of it was around leave provisions, paternity and maternity leave arrangements, etc. as well. But the workplace change consultative arrangements are by and large the same.
Thank you.
Ms. Evans-Barr.
Thank you, everyone. I might hand over to Kat, who will take you through the detail.
Thanks for that, Gail. So I just wanted to start by giving a high-level overview of our position at the moment. As at December 2025, we were predicting a budget deficit of $22 million. This, alongside the work of the accelerated service planning, did highlight the need for urgent action. As at March, we had reduced that to an expectation of $18.9 million, which is a significant decrease in a 3-month period. It demonstrates that we have been able to achieve some significant changes without major cuts to services, and demonstrates the initial value of the financial sustainability program. We're currently finalising the financial year outcomes, and the outcomes are expected to be better than predicted. The focus on fiscal responsibility is also demonstrated by improvements to reporting systems, processes and decision-making practices that have flowed through to council reporting. Some of the specific areas of improvement. The financial sustainability program itself has had a number of completed projects that to date have had a financial impact of $1.6 million. These are early wins, and there has been no significant impact to services delivered to the community at this stage. We have a pipeline of activity, and we are building momentum to make further improvements. On top of that $1.6 million, we have a 6-monthly report that we do where we ask individual service areas to highlight with us the continuous improvement initiatives that they have implemented and the impact of those. They are showing just over $115,000 worth of annual ongoing savings, and these are micro-continuous improvements delivered at the team level, not with a financial sustainability project. So that's on top of, which demonstrates that every single area is currently thinking about financial sustainability within their planning and continuous improvement activities. One of the initiatives analysed, planned and implemented through accelerated service planning involved a refocusing of the events program to prioritise value and ensure that the team were able to focus on ongoing sustainability as we consider the annual program of activity. The review undertaken maintains key events, but has resulted in a 26-27 budget position for the team that is improved by $219,000. Where are we going from here? So on the 15th of June, Council was presented with a report outlining the work underway with regards to consolidation of strategies and plans. This is expected to ensure that we are prioritising work and the resources that we have available to ensure that we are focusing on those areas of strategic significance. Reducing our budget dependency for the delivery of non-priority items. In addition to this, the current financial sustainability program has a pipeline of projects and initiatives that are in planning or underway that have an estimated value of $3.3 million. Just noting that those do not include all of the implementation costs. There are some areas where we are still working to determine implementation costs, which may then impact decisions as to whether or not we progress. A structured pipeline of additional projects is being assessed and implemented in an ongoing manner. We're using service planning and service review structures and ongoing consideration of services and service levels to continue to identify further projects for analysis and implementation. Just reminding you of Gail's previous comment, we brought to you on the 16th of March a range of service level adjustments that had come through from the Accelerated Service Planning project that we were looking to progress. They were endorsed to progress, and whilst we are terming these minor service level changes, they're not necessarily minor to the people involved. Those service level adjustments are expected to have a value of around about the $500,000 mark, and a full report will come to you with those for decision on the 27th. Yes. Some of the strategies that we're using to ensure that we continue to identify items to come into the pipeline of activity. We've got continuous improvement reporting, procurement and resource management structures and processes, all informing our budget monitoring, and we do expect that quarterly budget reviews will continue to give us an outline of the current and potential future shifts in budget position. And as I mentioned previously, service planning and service reviews are used as a structure for identifying additional potential opportunities. We've got a staged rollout that we're planning with structured processes to ensure that we are doing everything with a sequence that makes sense and achieves the outcomes that we are aiming to achieve.
Councillor Callane, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, through to the most relevant staff member. Given that some of those projects, the progressing opportunities have estimates in it, and happy to take this on notice, perhaps you might not off by hand, hoping that we could get some estimates around strategies and plans and monitoring budgets and ongoing projects and what the ballpark figures for those are starting to look like.
Yeah, who's going to take that question? Evans-Barr.
Thank you for your question through you, Mayor Mac. In terms of the monitoring of budgets and where we've got strategies and plans and alike, we could probably do a bit of a breakdown on that because a lot of that is underway. In terms of ongoing projects that will come forward, that's part of, we've got a couple that are in, I would say quite a large service review process at the moment, so that's going to be unknown for a couple of months yet, but we were planning on bringing that forward to Council in the coming months anyway. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Hudson, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mac. Through you to the most relevant member of staff. I was hoping, and I acknowledge there's a lot of sensitivity around service adjustments and the impact that has on the workforce, and so a lot can't be spoken about at this stage. But I'm just thinking to myself, if I'm a community member listening on the live stream at home, I probably have no idea what most of these people are talking about because it's all very general, it's all quite corporate jargon, and I don't mean that in any... I don't mean that negatively. We obviously understand what we're talking about here, but that's because we're enmeshed in it every day. Could we have some examples, for example, from the $1.6 million in operational efficiencies and service adjustments? Like, can you give us some examples of what those are so the community understands tangibly what that means? Whoever wants to do
Ms.
that.
Evans-Barr.
Do you want to go on to the next slide?
Sure. I'll progress to the next slide, and that may well outline some of that for you. So the Council endorsed on the 16th of March progression of a range of opportunities from the Morrison Lowe Advisory Report and a detailed report outcoming the progress since then will be provided on the 27th of July. That will outline the outcomes of employee consultation and provide our recommendations regarding the service level adjustments that were presented. Across all of these proposals, our approach has been to achieve savings whilst maintaining community access to essential services and maintaining community access as far as is possible within the financial objectives. For visitor services, we are proposing a transition from a traditional face-to-face model to a predominantly digital service model. This reflects declining visitation numbers and aligns with our two city, one community approach. For libraries and museum, we are proposing modest reductions to opening hours, particularly during lower demand periods, alongside a number of operational efficiencies. So the reduction in operating hours for the library has been considered in terms of the broader operations to ensure that we can give a coordinated approach that maximises our savings but minimises the reduced public access. So that's that one. At Mama, the proposal is to simplify and standardise the operating hours, improving operational efficiency and delivering initial savings. We do have significant further optimisation work currently underway for Mama. For Mirrabina and Glen Echo community centres, we're proposing a reduction in staffed front desk hours only. Community access, bookings, key programs, food share services, safety arrangements, they all remain unchanged. As highlighted earlier, we've already implemented changes to the events program, and a review of the event schedule has identified the lower value activities that can be reduced and efficiencies that can be achieved while retaining the key events. Pump House, adjustment to the staffed hours at the Pump House and a deferral of the Artist in Residence program have been implemented and generated further savings without affecting community access to the facility. These are measured, targeted adjustments focused on efficiency and sustainability rather than on broad service level reductions. They form part of the broader financial sustainability program, and they are aimed at securing Council's long-term financial position whilst maintaining community service levels to the highest possible standard.
Councillor Callaghan, question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, through to you, Catterley, or whomever it might be. But I have a couple of questions. First, in relation to, I know we're getting the report on the 27th. However, it's obvious that we know that what that is now. But what does modest hours to the library mean? Is it 2 hours a day? What are we likely to see, or how many hours a week?
Thank you for the question. Through you, Mayor Mac, we've got a reduction to evening operating hours on Mondays only and weekends, but it's a small reduction on each of those. Is it 2 hours for the weekends? Sorry, I might pass to Simona for the precise.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, and through you, Councillor Mayor Mac. In Library Museum, Saturdays we are changing our hours from 4 p.m. to 2 p.m. and Mondays from 7 p.m. to 5 p.m., Mondays through to Fridays. And Lavington, it's Saturday from 1 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. and Mondays to Fridays 5:30 to 5 p.m. except Thursdays where it was open till 6, we'll be going to 5 p.m.
Thank you. Excellent. I've tried to capture that, but sorry, I missed that, but I'll go back on the feed. My follow-up question is in regards to Mirrabina. I'm hoping I can have some clarification to access will be unchanged, but staffing hours would be reduced. Can you explain a little bit more? We had a presentation a couple of weeks ago. I think there was some confusion that Mirrabina or Glen Echo or some of our community centres were actually reducing hours. So if you could explain that a bit further, it'd be great.
Thank you for the question. And through you, Mayor Mac. In relation to Mirrabina and Glen Echo, we are reducing our staffed hours. However, the centre will remain open for the same period and access to our community centres will not be changed. So any programs, activities can occur. The community can still call at any time. So we have a 6-hour reduction in staffed hours at Mirrabina for 1 week and a 6-hour reduction in staffed hours being the front desk at Glen Echo for 1 week. The community, if they call during that time, it'll be redirected to Kiwa Street where the community development team will be able to answer questions. And in terms of community centres, this is not an unusual model because community centres invariably are not open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or when the community might want to access it.
Comfortable?
So there is a change to how our community will access these facilities?
Through you, thank you. The facility will still remain open. It is in terms of if someone wants to ask a question, they can call when there's no front desk service there, and any community groups, any bookings, any events will proceed as normal because they'll have their own access and their own key.
Thank you.
Councillor King, questioner.
Thank you. Through to the most relevant member of staff, it's clear that we're sort of looking at, I guess, some savings and service level adjustments. In terms of that, I guess, real structural reform, with a CEO still to come into play, to what level are we preparing for something a little bit more than, a structured pipeline of changes? So can you perhaps give us an indication? Because, I obviously appreciate that there are impacts on people within the organisation, but the situation that we find ourselves in is a lot of expenditure from the organisation on our staffing levels. So at what point does something a little bit more with structural reform get looked at, and where are those discussions, or what are we anticipating there?
Mr McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you for the question. In the earlier slides where you saw the project delivery planned, external service reviews, efficiency projects, structured pipeline of changes still being assessed and implemented, that was suggesting in the vicinity of $3.3 million worth of savings. There's only one way to put this, that by and large, when you look at the services that council provides, a lot of it relies on staffing resources. Keeping in mind our workforce obligations, it's difficult to fine-tune exactly where they're likely to be right now. That's why there's a very structured approach to engaging across all of the services, engaging with the workforce and working through a whole range of considerations, with a primary aim of not impacting on services to the community wherever possible. Now, we can't guarantee that that will always be the case, but where we can identify impacts to service provision to the community, ultimately that ends up back here for councillors to be involved in decision making around that. I guess more broadly, looking at structure, as you put it, it's probably more likely around the alignment of services, how things align and getting better efficiencies through alignment, as opposed to a wholesale restructure, which comes at a significant implementation cost, obviously. So that's a matter that's being worked through, notwithstanding, as you've pointed out as well, and I was very clear when I came here in February, that the broader structural considerations is something that a new permanent CEO may well have some views on. And that, of course, would be the subject of conversations with the councillor group to make sure that any approach was cognizant of implementation costs and providing the best long-term outcome for council and the community. Apologies for a bit of a long-winded answer, but and it's not as concise as you might like, but I think given some of the workforce considerations, you can understand why.
Understand. Thank you. Maybe a possible follow-up. Given we've gone to community in great length in the lead up to the budget in terms of the services that they value, I think that it's quite clear a hierarchy of some of those. Does that provide that template in your thinking as an organisation, with the team in terms of what those priorities are? Because I think some of those were very telling in terms of what the majority of the community does value, notwithstanding specific community groups will have an absolute passion for some areas, but does that, given we've already gone to community for a lot of those issues,
Mr McGrath.
Through you, Mr Mayor, effectively, you've perhaps answered your own question, because it does provide that direction. The Micromex survey late last year, it was predates me, but it very clearly provided some direction to council about what the community valued. And that's high or front of mind for the staff that are working through this process. I think what becomes clear through some of the work that's been undertaken to date, albeit preliminary, is the opportunities from better alignment of some services to create efficiencies in an ongoing way. Some of that may require some initial implementation cost, but providing a longer term positive, sustainable outcome for the council and the community. Can I just say one other thing? I've seen online in the mainstream media comparisons of FTE numbers at Albury City compared to a number of other regional cities in New South Wales. Without naming them, I think you need to be very aware of making sure you're comparing apples with apples. At least one of those other regional cities that was quoted does not provide water services to their community, and that's a substantial part of our workforce. Neither of those other two regional cities provide, to the best of my knowledge, children's services from their operations. And once again, that's a significant cohort of staff in this organisation. Now, we plan to look at the whole range of services that we provide and come back to council for some direction around a number of those areas. But I guess I'm just making the point that simply comparing FTE numbers out of the annual statements or some other publication doesn't necessarily provide a strong indication of like comparisons.
Thank you. Question from Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac, to you, through you to the most appropriate member of staff. How many full-time positions at Albury City are employed in the water provision services and childcare services?
Mr. McGrath?
Mr Mayor, I can't quote those numbers off the top of my head, but I might ask Mr Willis to come forward, the Service Leader Water and Wastewater, to see if he can you separate out the water from the wastewater function, and whether the Service Leader Community and Place can maybe identify the FTE associated with children's services.
Most certainly. Thank you very much for your question. I guess in terms of water and wastewater, currently we have about 80 FTE staff on the books. Effectively, the split of services is around about 60-40 in terms of 60% water services, 40 wastewater services.
So, through you, Mr Mayor.
Yep.
So the majority are water provision, not wastewater,
Correct.
and childcare.
Ms. Code?
Thank you for the question, and through you. In terms of our, I'm just trying to read the actual data here. We have a mixture of both casuals and ongoing part-time and permanent full-time staff. So I'm just trying to make sure we have the budgeted FTE of 35.32 ongoing staff in children's services.
So we've got 35 for you, Mr Mayor. We've got 35 FTE in childcare. We've got 60% of 80 in water. Someone who didn't go to the Christian Brothers like I did might be better at maths. Can calculate what that is.
48.
Thank you. So 48 plus 50.
35.
Plus 35.
Someone's a school teacher. How many through you, Mr Mayor, how many full-time equivalent employees at Albury City Council?
Mr. McGrath?
Right now, from memory, off the top of my head, and someone will give me a look if I've got this wrong, but I think it's about 560 FTE employed at the moment. There are a number of vacancies over and above that, which we're working through at the moment. Can I just stress one thing, that I quoted water and children's services simply as examples of service areas where we are involved directly in providing, some other regional cities are not. And that's just to make that comparison alone. Not to suggest we should be doing anything else with those service areas.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think we could also include the airport too, which we operate and other councils don't, couldn't we? Not that I feel like I'm arguing against myself, but the bottom line is it's not as big a proportion of the total operation as we might think. Thanks.
Thank you. I have the lectern next, or is that you, Ms. Barr?
The lectern?
No, the lectern's on its own. Okay. Councillor Bullivant, question.
Through you, Mayor Mac, the relevant member of staff, just to follow up to Councillor Cameron's question, we're talking about FTE, but I'd really like to see a number of how much we actually spend in the community with subcontractors. We have a lot of subcontractors that are third parties to the system, and we do spend a lot of money in town, so I suspect that will be a question on notice, but I'd just like to get a bit of a number if I could, please.
Mr. McGrath?
I think we'll take it on notice, Mr Mayor. It's not part of this body of work that we're doing here, but we can take it on notice, definitely. Can I also add that will need to be somehow split across the service areas where they're engaged. Yeah, that's all for the moment, yeah.
No problem. Okay. Who's next? Anyone?
Oh, yep, we're up to key dates.
Thanks, it's back to
Okay.
Gail, I think, so.
Gail? Ms Evans-Barr?
Thank you. Just wanted to provide you a bit of a high-level overview. You've got a report that's coming through. Again, I reiterate what you've got on the screen here. We've got $3.3 million that's also being worked on a pipeline, and a lot of other broader service reviews as well that will all come to council for decision. So we feel really confident in not only the report that will come forward to you in the next couple of weeks, but also future quarterly budget reviews as we progress all of this work.
There's a key date slide. Was there we missed?
We can put up a key date slide if you like. So the 27th of council meeting, you've got the financial sustainability project report. There's a number of other items that are on that council agenda as well. September, we're presenting the SRV engagement results to council, and then from there we'll make decisions about whether we're continuing with potential SRVs and alike, applications and alike.
Thank you. Councillor Glacken, do you have a question?
Thank you for the presentation and thank you for the opportunity through you, Mr Mayor. I'm very conscious that this is one component of work which has actually amassed a larger number of components of work over a period of time, and I note that there's one reference to an external consultant's body of work that was engaged last year. However, and this is where I really get to the question for the staff, most relevant member of staff, a significant amount of work has been undertaken over a number of years to decrease the ongoing costs of council, and that was through the term of more than this council. How do we convey that to our community? It's as if our community think that we've suddenly had a deficit or we've suddenly found a deficit, which is not the case. It's been something that we've noted for a number of years, a number of councils, and have been working to decrease that deficit whilst always fighting against the rate caps along the way. But how do we convey that message to our community who clearly don't see that in everything that we are reporting and dealing with at council?
Gail's ready.
Ms Evans-Barr,
Do you want to go?
did you want to?
And I may add, let Gail go first.
Thank you for your question through you, Mayor Mack. One of the things we're trying to do with all of the forthcoming, I guess, media and commentary to councillors and the reports that are coming in here is to constantly reiterate the whole journey that we've been on and the program of work. So as you've heard here tonight, it's all of the work that we've done in terms of deficit, what we've done in terms of the accelerated service planning, which is the consultant work that happened pre my time, and certainly with a number of staff that are in the room here, and what we've been able to yield out of that and forthcoming work. So you'll see that we will constantly go back and remind councillors, community and our staff as well of the journey and everything that we've achieved to date, and where we can, the pipeline of work that's coming forward. I don't know, Mr McGrath, if you've got...
Mr McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and Councillor Glacken. Just to add a little bit more to that, I think because one of the first things I did when I was asked to take on the interim role was quick desktop analysis and looked at the financial results going back to 2017, and the general fund deficit position has been escalating since around 2016-17, there's no doubt. And that is, you quite rightly point out, that has arisen because of rate peg, the simple fact that operating revenue does not keep pace with the sort of increases that councils, not just Albury City, but all councils are incurring in their operating expenditure profile. But I guess there is the fact that a number of fairly significant aspirational assets did come online in the last 6 to 8 years. And they were brought forward in many cases because of the stimulus funding that was available. and brought forward in a scenario where the capital funds were available, but the projected revenue streams that were required to operate those facilities hadn't necessarily been given time to catch up, if you like. So they may have been planned to be delivered in a 10-year horizon. All of a sudden they're on the books 2 years, 2 years or 8 years ahead of when they should have been. So, there's a number of factors that have contributed to that. But I also want to try and just summarise. If you look at the presentation that's just been provided, and if you go back to the financial result for the 24-25 financial year, was a $26.3 million deficit in the general fund. If you look at where, and I know it hasn't all been delivered, but if you look at the plans that are there around in that table that Miss Evans-Barr and Miss Stewart presented to you, and you do the quick sums, it improves the situation by about $13 million overall. That is from the 24-25 financial result. So I guess it just reinforces what the presentation has said already. There has been a concerted effort to try and rein in, and there is definitely more work that needs to be done. And quite rightly, as you point out, Councillor Glacken, it's about how we communicate that to the community going forward. So there's a realisation that it's not, the SRV is but one component, and the quantum of that is still being fine-tuned.
Thank you. Councillor Baker, question?
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Yes, a question that I picked up from some of the discussion, councillor discussion during the sustainability presentation. A lot of the information we have been getting over the last 6 months at the committee meetings, which are open to all councillors, and I think 8 councillors have been at pretty well every one, and we have discussed in depth where savings could be, listened, and there was feedback given to staff during those. So I would say councillors have had a fair input into what has been presented tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My question is to you as Mayor of the City of Albury. I've heard what Councillor Glacken had to say with some alarm because it was contrary to my recollection of what occurred. And I would like to ask you as Mayor if what I'm going to articulate as my recollection of the budget process last year is accurate, or if the version of events and the narrative that is trying to be portrayed by Councillor Glacken is correct, or more correct. I recall that last year we went through the budget process and a budget deficit of $11 million, circa $11 million was predicted and predicted to be reducing. And that was a disappointing but acceptable, broadly acceptable position. Within a few months, within a month, there were rumours, and then it became apparent that they were true, that the deficit position was much higher, in the vicinity of 23 million. And for Councillor Glacken to claim that she's concerned because the community think that we just discovered that there was a much bigger deficit than what we were told in the budget process is simply not true. We were told that the budget was in circa $11 million. I myself rang the CEO at that time and said, when I first had concerns and discussions with some staff members, that it may be a bigger budget deficit, what is the budget position? And he said to me, the budget position, the budget papers say it's 11 million. I said, yes, I know the budget papers say that, but what is the position? And he said to me, the budget papers say it's 11 million. And as we subsequently found out, emanating from his review, I believe, in any case, I'll go no further down that path. But in any case, it is unacceptable to me, I think, for people to come here tonight and articulate or try to articulate an alternative fictional narrative that we were not surprised, that we knew that there was a deficit. The deficit had been increasing all along. It's no big shock. That is not true. Is that your recollection, Mr Mayor?
Councillor Cameron, asked and answered. Yes, I would agree with that, that sequence of events.
Thank you.
Councillor Callaghan.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I would also like to reiterate that I found it, I agree with you, Councillor Cameron, that it is suddenly in the last year that we have come to learn our budget. I have a few questions, if I may. The first one is the presentation, and thank you for the presentation. It focuses on operational savings, workforce changes and service reviews, all of which I agree need to happen. I see in the section where it talks about pipeline activities, so ongoing projects. Has Council also modelled the impact of deferring some or reprioritising discretionary capital works or aspirational projects before we... Because this is what our community see. Our community see capital works projects. And there's lots of conversations that I'm hearing about why are we spending on this, and this is what the community see. Are we looking at reining in and potentially pausing or looking at some of our capital works projects moving forward?
Mr McGrath.
Mr Mayor, yes, and in fact, as part of the adoption of the 26-27 budget, based on the feedback that Council got through the engagement process, there were indeed a number of capital projects that were identified as requiring further information as to whether they should be maintained. And I think we gave the commitment that as part of the quarterly budget reviews, we would bring that information back to Council with relevant information as to the pros and cons of going forward with those particular capital projects. I would point out that, to the best of my recollection, the bulk of those capital projects that were suggested as being reviewed were around infrastructure renewal. So I think it is really important for councillors to understand the consequences of any decisions around whether to progress with those projects, and indeed that's the rationale for bringing it back through the QBR process.
Thank you. I would argue that they're not all asset renewals. There are some aspirational projects in there, but nonetheless, thank you. My second question is, given further cost-saving reductions that are expected to come, and we're going to get that report coming at our next meeting, additional revenue such as the property and leasing strategy and potentially developer contributions down the track, is it likely that the SRV put forward will actually be substantially less than we've put forward to our community, 40 to 42%? Is that, you know, if all this hard work's coming and we're saying we need 40 to 42 in the projections as an SRV, if we're cutting and pausing projects, is that likely to be an alternative? Not that it was provided in the survey.
Mr McGrath.
Mr Mayor, to break it down, on the asset or the capital projects that have been previously mentioned in the question immediately preceding, and the developer contributions referred to, they would not impact the operating result of Council because they are indeed capital related. Obviously, do you want me to say it again?
Yes, please. Can you put that?
So, capital projects,
Yep.
as such, asset renewal or aspirational projects do not impact the operating expenditure profile, bottom line. Developer contributions are for infrastructure, new infrastructure. So once again, it does not impact the operating bottom line, the income statement. The sorts of issues that Ms Stewart and Ms Evans-Barr have taken you through tonight that are in this table, they have the potential, depending upon how things roll out over the next 4 to 6 months, to give some comfort for Council to potentially consider reducing the quantum of the SRV that's required.
Thank you. I have a final question. It's a hypothetical, of course, but what if IPART rejects the SRV? Also, what happens if the councillor group decide in September we're not going to proceed with hiking up people's rates and adopting an SRV? What is the plan B to achieve financial sustainability? I feel like, yes, we've got an alternative option, which is sit to the rate peg, but I don't feel like I have really heard a strong contingency plan for harsher cutting. I know we're looking at processes now and we're going to get there, but where's the hammer that says enough of spending and we're pausing? What's the contingency plan?
Mr McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Callaghan, that was described quite in some detail in scenario 4 in the long-term financial plan that was presented to council as part of the suite of documents for the 26-27 draft budget process. And in fact, at that point, given what we knew then, and it just shows how this is evolving, we were talking $18 to $20 million worth of service reductions. Now, that's not based on the premise that council has indicated its desire to achieve a financially sustainable position for the general fund, which is about reverting to a balanced budget or small surplus. So to achieve that without looking at revenue injection or some of these improvements here, you would be looking at changes to the service profile of 18 to 20 million. If IPART, for example, or if the councillor group in September, October said no, then the only other alternative, if you want to maintain achieving financial sustainability, balanced budget in general fund, you need to consider the suite of impacts that will occur to the service profile. And if I go back to Councillor King's question, the community quite clearly, as I understand, told the council during the survey in the latter part of last year that it valued its services and didn't want to see major reductions in that service profile. So it's a complex issue. You've got to work out, if you can't do one thing, what are you going to do to prune the budget back?
Just to follow up, if I may. I believe when that survey was done of our community, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but an SRV wasn't on the table at that point. And I think if we put that survey back out to our community and said, suite of services, SRV, we could get a potentially very different response.
Mr Mayor, I'm not going to debate the issue.
I'm just putting it to you.
No problem. Question, Councillor King.
Further to Councillor Glacken's point a little earlier on, and I think we've all acknowledged a little bit of the feedback in terms of, you know, we know that Albury City is investing a lot of time and resources into explaining why an SRV may need to be considered, and that the community is sort of waiting to see what sort of level of effort we're doing internally. In terms of communicating the messages that we're talking about, how can community understand the services that have been reviewed, the efficiencies and cost savings identified, and the operational reforms that have already been implemented? Do we have a very clear place on the website, some information somewhere that people are able to accurately assess that? Because my external lens is we're seeing a lot of the financial language being spoken about, but not necessarily having that to that same level, that level of effective communication to bring community along to get them to have a full appreciation of what we are doing. Yes, we're talking about it in here, and yes, there's a report, and we're talking about, you know, structured pipelines of bibs and bobs, but in plain English, is there a strategy around comms that our community can go to and look, certainly by September at the latest, I would imagine, because that's when any potential decisions may need to come about, and I think that would be a focus that I'd just put it to you, that is that being considered in terms of how people can find out about that in a more streamlined and easy to digest manner.
Ms Evans-Barr.
Thank you for your question through you, Mayor Mac. I think that's a very fair observation. So you'll see that the communication strategy will change over the next few months. I was only speaking to the team today, and there's a internal communication strategy that's being worked on as well. Likewise, some of the information we're providing to yourself as a councillor group. So it's a fair observation, and we need to better think about how we can make that information more accessible on our website and through our own social media, so we can actually dispel and correct some of the misinformation that's being circulated at the moment.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff, Mayor Mac. Why does the plan, such as it is, not contemplate and not address any potential savings that might be brought about by restructuring senior staff positions and structure of council?
Mr McGrath.
Mr Mayor, I, through you to Councillor Cameron, there has been some work carried out around looking at the structure. What I will say to you is that, in my view, the structure at tiers 2 and 3 is quite lean by comparison to other regional cities. But indeed, what I have also said to you as a councillor group, but also to the workforce, is the proper time to review the structure is once you've got your new permanent CEO in place. I've consistently said that whoever that is might bring their own imprimatur to the situation, and you know, I'm respectful of that.
Could I simply ask, or say a supplementary comment? CEOs, whether new, existing or past, do not bring an imprimatur to council. Decisions are made by the elected councillors of the governance of this council. Staff at all levels, including the CEO, carry out the instructions given to them, or should carry out the instructions given to them, and an imprimatur of the elected councillors. There is no other imprimatur.
Thank you. Councillor Bellament, question?
More of a statement, Mayor Mac. I'm very pleased that a couple of councillors tonight have mentioned the previous council's budget, because when this council group was elected, one of the things we got was a budget preview, and to suddenly be at 11 million, then it becomes nearly 20 million, then 6 months later it's 27 million. You know, you've got to understand what the hell's going on in this place. We as a group have got a job to do. We've inherited this job, and I'm a new councillor, Councillor Bukowski, Councillor Hudson. We're new councillors. We can see there's a job that needs to be done, and we as elected representatives of our city have got to get in, get our hands dirty and get the job done. And that includes everything's off the table. We've got to make this job work. We've got 55,000 people in Albury that we've got to support and look after. How we go about it is up to us as an executive and as a board. We have got to do what's best for the city, but we've got to get our numbers right. And I'm sick to death of hearing assumptions. I think assumptions as a word in local government should be thrown out the window, because we've really got to look at nuts and bolts. We've got to look at the true figures to find out where we're going to be in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. Because with assumptions, you run a business on assumptions, you get $1 in and you spend 5, you're going to be broke very quickly. So I'm really concerned about how we go about this. I'm concerned about our residents, I'm concerned about our business in general. But as a group, we have got to get off our backsides, get our hands dirty, be brave, make decisions on behalf of our city, because if we don't, we're going to be it's going to be hell to pay in the community. So we as a group have got to get it right, and let's work really hard at it. And because not only do we care about the staff, I care about the people in the city, and I really want to make this right. It's a very hard road we're going to travel down. We've got to make some difficult decisions, but eventually, I know we will get it right.
Thank you. Question, Councillor Callaghan.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Mac, through to the most relevant staff member. I believe Mr Hennan was going to give us some more information or follow up, but it was didn't realise in regards to comms moving forward in relation to Councillor King's question.
Thanks very much for your follow-up question through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor King, I just wanted to let you know that we do also have a dedicated SRV webpage right now operating as we speak. That's in addition to the engaging Have Your Say page. So there's also a dedicated webpage with any additional information we can let our community know. That's already out there and existing. So as any of the service reviews, any information that comes to hand, when it's ready to be shared from a people's perspective, when there's results, it will go onto that page. I just wanted to add that for your awareness, to let you know that we've considered that as another way of letting our community know. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all questions are tapped out now. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for your comments and questions, and I'll get a bigger calculator next time. Okay, moving right along, we're up to CM11, reports, minutes of committees and working parties. 11.1, minutes of Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 9th of June. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I'd like to move that Council receives, notes and accepts the minutes of the Sustainability Advisory Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 9th of June and 2026.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to speak to that?
Briefly, Mayor Mac, I'd just like to draw the attention of my fellow councillors to the fact that the committee moved that they recommend that council reconsider funding the Land Management Incentive Program, which, for those who aren't aware, is a program that provides funds to for sustainability and sort of biodiversity improvement projects in the city, because I think that's a very important project which enables council to achieve, environmental goals through a sort of force multiplier. But they also thought that the review, that the associated guidelines and criteria of that program should be reviewed to ensure that we are getting the most bang for our buck, essentially, from that program. And the other thing I wanted to note is that we, with the new youth council, we have a new youth councillor representative, Annabelle Horn, on the committee, and we welcome her.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, did you wish to speak against this?
I do,
Okay.
Mayor Mack. And the reason I wish to speak against it is because of the commentary provided by Councillor Hudson. And it's symptomatic of a much bigger problem that we have here. And it's not a crack at Councillor Hudson or his particular beliefs or the things that he is passionate about. He has every right to be passionate about, as we all do. We all have our enthusiasms, But the problem here is that nobody, or very few people on this council, seem to be getting the message that there's no cash here. Here, no cash, to quote the great Neville Bardos. We don't have money. And there are many things that we are going to have to stop funding. Many things. And it's going to hurt. And I've said this before in this chamber, but I'll reiterate. It's going to hurt a lot of people in our community. And it's going to hurt some of us here, the things that we're going to have to cut. And if we don't, then not only won't we be able to avoid a special rate variation, but it will be a special rate variation of a magnitude that will make life unlivable for many in our community. We need to change, I believe, Ms. Mayor Mack, our mindset. We need to grit our teeth and girt our loins and face off to the fact that there needs to be defunding of a whole plethora of things in this city. And the premise of the last report, that we're not going to impact too much on services, has to be rethought, I should say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Hudson, do you wish to close debate on this item?
Just to reiterate that I was simply drawing a fellow councillor's attention to what was moved by the community members on the committee.
Thank you. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We have 13.1 officers' reports for consideration. Draft privacy management plan. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Bilvin.
Thank you, Mac. I recommend that Council authorises its seal to be affixed to the documents outlined below in the presence of two signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant with Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 and the Council seal and management of legal documents and advice procedure. A. Albury City Council lease to Riverina and Murray Joint Organisation, RAMJO, 4th floor, 553 Keyworth Street, Albury, 2-year term commencing 1 July 2026, file number FIL 09/01850.
Councillor Bukowski.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor Bullen, did you wish to speak to that at all?
It's just a general lease agreement between an organisation and the city. A good thing. We get rent for it.
Thank you. Questions from Councillor Cameron?
Thank you, Mayor Mack. Through you to the most appropriate member of staff, can we be assured that we are getting, as Councillor Bullivant says, rent for it, and it is a good thing? Is it at a fully commercial rate, or is it at what some might term mates rates?
Mr. Miller.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mayor Mack, yes, it's a commercial arrangement.
So is market rate, through you, Mr. Mayor?
Market rate based on the square meterage of the floor that they use.
Thank you.
Question, Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. My question is through you to either yourself or the most relevant member of staff. There's been some recent discussion on the return to the ROC model rather than the joint organisation model. I was just, given that this is for a 2-year term, just hoping I could seek some clarity on where that's at and whether we're likely to see RAMJO exist in the next 2 years, or if it's likely to be another organisation or entity.
Mr McGrath.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Hudson, you are correct. Early this year, I think it was February, the Minister for Local Government announced a review of the JO framework and sought the opinion of councils from across the state. I have no lens on what timeframe is being applied to that review, but I can tell you that of the RAMJO members, Albury City was the only one to express a view to return to the ROC model. And you will remember that Council's resolution around that was that any final decision would be made in collaboration with the other members of RAMJO. So that's for down the track, but I don't have any lens on what the timeframe the Minister might have in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. No further debate or questions. Councillor Bullen, just to close debate.
No, thank you, Mac.
Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Now it's CM13 because my running sheet didn't have CM12. Okay, CM13.1, the draft privacy management plan. Thank you, councillors. Councillor King.
I move that Council rescind the Privacy Management Policy 2020, B, adopt the draft Albury City Privacy Management Plan 2026 as presented with consequential updates to the website and internal references, and C, note that a revised version of the Privacy Management Plan will be presented to Council within the next 6 months.
Thank you. Councillor Callaghan.
Happy to second.
Thank you. Councillor King, do you wish to speak to that at all?
No, just that clearly it's important. Individuals' privacy is certainly paramount, and it is one of those requirements under the Act that we are required to do. So it's clearly important to reflect current changes to legislation and issues to be aware of, including one of them that talks about clarification of Council's approach to artificial intelligence and automated decision making. So I think that that's important that we keep these up to date and fit for purpose. So that was all.
Thank you. No further debate or questions. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 13.2, update of externally facing governance policies. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor Mac. I move that Council A rescind the Public Interest Disclosure Policy 2023, B endorse the updated draft Public Interest Disclosure Policy 2026, C rescind the Legislative Compliance Policy 2019, D endorse the updated draft Legislative Compliance Policy 2026, and E rescind the Public Access to Information Policy 2018.
Thank you. Councillor Bukowski.
Yep, happy to second. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron, have a question. Do you wish to open debate or do you want me to take the question?
Fascinated to hear the question.
Councillor King.
I just noticed in Public Interest Disclosure Policy, it talks about it aligning with the Ombudsman's revised guidance and model policy, addressing key clarifications relating to disclosure to members of Parliament or journalists. Is anyone able to shed a little bit of light on what that's about, or whether we're just following due diligence with the Ombudsman's guidance? It's something that stood out, and I thought, I wonder what that's relating to. But I'm happy to take it on notice, and you can send me to somewhere to find a bit more information, which I'm happy to do.
Councillor McGrath, Mr McGrath.
Freudian slip.
Sorry, fourth beat.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Councillor King, I think you're right. You slightly answered it. You do have to have due regard to the Ombudsman's guidelines in formulating any policies, particularly new issues that are raised in those guidelines. They're normally there for a reason, As to the specifics of the rationale for those particular matters you raise, I don't have them to hand right now, but we can take it on notice and get you a more specific response to your question.
Thank you, Mr McGrath. Okay, Councillor Cameron, did you wish to open debate?
No, thank you, Mayor Mack.
Okay, no further question or debate. Happy to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. 14, CM14 officers' reports for noting. Questions on notice. Council meeting 15th of June 2026 in relation to the public forum. Happy to take a consensus from the councillors. I understand Councillor Gluckin did ask the question about when it would be suitable to hold public forums. Under the new code, the public forums are at our request, so happy to take a consensus from the group about what night suits the group, and we'll conform to that request. So Monday and Thursday. Thursday was the previous night. Who wants to start the bet?
I believe from previous consensus, when I think Councillor Gluckin, or I don't even know when it was, but I'm happy to put my hand up and say to move it to the Monday. I think that was the consensus at the time, if my memory serves me correct.
So by show of hands, can councillors demonstrate which if Monday's a suitable night? Yep. Councillor Baker, did you have anything to feedback on that one?
No, I can do either night, but I think I don't like being here until midnight when there's speech after speech, and there'll be a few coming up. So I think Thursday night was a good option when there was a lot of speakers. So I wouldn't mind having them both open to us at some point, because other people try and compress their days into all on Monday, but really late nights, I don't think the decision making by the end of that's that good.
Thank you.
Thank you, but I'll go with whatever everyone else agrees to.
Councillor Hudson?
My preference is for the Monday night. I understand the intent behind moving it to the Thursday and allowing us the time and space we need to ask follow-up questions based on presentations when new information is presented to us. However, I would suggest that we already have a mechanism to deal with that, which is deferral, and especially returning to a fortnightly meeting schedule as opposed to monthly. If we do defer items, we're only deferring it for a fortnight rather than a whole month. So as far as delaying decision making, particularly when it comes to things like DAs and what have you, it's not that much of an impost, I would suggest. So I think Monday's preferable.
Yep, thank you. Councillor King?
And I'd only add to debate that often, in my experience, those that are presenting at public forums have emailed their submissions to councillors ahead of time quite often as well, and often their verbal presentation mirrors what the written submission is. So, I'd certainly encourage our community to continue to communicate with councillors with their submissions in that way ahead of time, perhaps. So, you could easily email your submission on a Thursday, which would give us more time. But I agree with the consensus that the Monday night, I think everyone's sort of got their focus, and this idea that we may have a public forum on Thursday, we may not. It depends on what happens that day, and it makes it challenging for those, certainly with working and family commitments, to sort of plan that far in at short notice. You're making your plans and you may have to alter them.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron? Did you have something?
Yeah, I do.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. I believe I've never been a supporter of these forums. Opposed it when it was introduced. The voting record bears that out in my comments at the time. I think they're of dubious value. Effectively you get to listen when things are topical to a plethora of speakers repeating the same points to no real value in my humble view, although some may find them informative. I believe they should be held on Wednesday nights during leap years only.
Thank you. Councillor Gluckin, finally and lastly.
Thank you. Through you. I note the other councillors' comments. It is an inconvenience not only to councillors but also to staff. Is the meeting going to be on or not on? the cost of having the additional night is not to be sniffed at. There is absolutely a cost to having the additional meeting night, and staff may hold that time over until we are told that it's not happening. It means that, noting again, as I often raise, councillors are part-time as councillors, and it means then that they have difficulty accepting any contractual work on a Thursday night, or the 2 Thursdays a month that it might be, or indeed taking a shift in their otherwise full-time but rostered work, and the inconvenience of all of that. So the cost, the inconvenience, the possibility that you may or may not have the meeting, to me, leads me to back to the Monday night again, because there was a time when we used to have something on pretty well every Monday night. I think it was the 5th Monday of the night of the month that we didn't, and that meant that Monday night was the night, so we could all program towards that, and I think that's the better option. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glickin. So from this point forward, will be public forums on a Monday night until further notice. And I take your point, Councillor Baker, that in some cases there may be a abundance of submissions for a forum, and it might be we still have that flexibility to pivot when we require, if we need to run it on a Thursday night. But I suppose under the existing meeting code versus the 2026 meeting code, all is up in the air until that lands again, which I believe is not far away. So Monday nights it is. Thank you, councillors. Notice of urgent business. Is there any from the councillors? No? Okay, confidential matters. Prior to confidential matters, did anyone want a bathroom break? Comfort break, okay. We can have a comfort break, then we'll move into confidential. Thank you. Thank you, councillors. We're back into ordinary council and we're moving into a confidential matter, 17.0. Thank you, councillors. Councillor Cameron,
Let's move that we move now into confidential to consider the report.
can you state the grounds there, please?
I beg your pardon?
The grounds.
Oh, the council move into confidential to discuss item CM 17.1 as this is a confidential item exclusive of press or public on the grounds that the matter relates to an alleged contraventions of any code of conduct requirements applicable under section 440 Local Government Act 1993, number 30, section 10A to Roman numeral I.
Thank you. Councillor Bullivant.
Happy to second it, Mayor Mac.
I must ask anyone in the chamber if they have any submissions regarding the reasons identified for a confidential item. None received. And now to put the motion. All those in favour? Anyone against? The motion is carried. Need to remind that live streamers that this motion is moving to confidential and is now being carried. Members of the public are asked to leave the chamber and the live streaming will cease. Live streaming will resume after the closed session.
Not yet. In a minute. Start from the top and you have to scroll as I read. We've opened it up here, Tyrone. Is it live? So, you should announce.
Thank you, councillors. We've now returned to open session of council. Live streaming has recommenced and members of the public may return to the chamber. The resolution passed during the closed session was as follows.
Can you put it up, please? Thank you, Madam Chair. Council resolved as follows in the closed session. That council acknowledge receipt of the final report into the conduct of Councillor Mack, and B, in accordance with clause 7.58B of the procedures of the administration of the Code of Conduct, formally censure Councillor Mack for the breach of Albury City's Code of Conduct under section 440G of the Local Government Act 1993, acknowledging the findings and determination in the final report from OCM as follows. And the findings, on balance, the evidence shows Councillor Mack has breached clause 3.1A of the Code in that his conduct is likely to have brought the council into disrepute, clause 3.1C of the Code in that his conduct is improper. The determination, according to the report, was in accordance with clause 6.23 of the procedures. The investigation has determined the matters are sufficiently serious to warrant formal censure of a councillor under section 440G of the Local Government Act, considering the matter identified in that clause, in particular, the impact of the alleged conduct on the various complainants, the potential for the behaviour to have brought council into disrepute, noting that the comments in both instances were made in a public forum with media present, and that the alleged conduct was deliberate or reckless in its disregard for the harm it may cause. Now you just need to close. Closure of the meeting.
There being no other business, I declare the ordinary council meeting on Monday, the 13th of July 2026, closed at 8:34 p.m. Thank you.